everyone, I'm Kamal Santamaria. This is Counting the Cost on Al Jazeera, our weekly look at the world of business and finance. This week coming to you from the Dubai Air Show. Coming up, we speak to some of the biggest names in the aviation business, Boeing, Airbus, BAE Systems, about what they expect from one of the world's biggest air shows and how they've coped with this economic downturn.
And I'm Dan Nolan. I'll be exploring the show on the ground, from commercial airlines to military giants and the luxury market, which still has a place even in this economic environment.
So welcome to Dubai, certainly one of the most important aviation hubs in the world these days, alongside the likes of London and Singapore. And now the Dubai Air Show, into its 11th edition, over 20 years it is, subsequently one of the most important aviation shows in the world. But in these times of economic recession, the focus has changed. It's not so much on the everyday traveller, the commercial traveller like you and I, more into the world of defence, of military, where the real money is at the moment. Let's bring in Dan Nolan now, who's been covering this event for us here on Al Jazeera. Dan, tell us a little bit more about what you've seen, particularly military-wise.
Whether you like it or not, Kamal, recession or no recession, countries still buy bombs, jets and other military hardware. It still keeps going on no matter what the economic climate. Let's take a look at the top 10 spenders around the world. Not surprising in itself, the United States is number one. It spends $607 billion. China is the second biggest spender, $84.9 billion. The ninth biggest spender is Saudi Arabia, $38 billion. Now, the biggest battle going on right now is the sale of fighter jets. That market is worth $17 billion a year, and after-sales service is worth a lot more. The United States is spending $300 billion for a total of 2,443 F-35s over the next 28 years. India plans to spend $10.4 billion and is looking at Boeing's Super Hornet, Lockheed's F-16 and Eurofighter. And Saudi Arabia is buying another 72 Eurofighters as it replaces its fleet of 276 combat jets. So there's an absolutely phenomenal amount of money to be spent on defence. All the big military companies are here clamouring for those dollars, and it's being magnified by that country just across the Gulf, Iran. This is the plane that its makers, Lockheed Martin, claim will, quote, shorten wars and save lives. Of course, that only applies if you're fighting on the same side as the F-22 Raptor.
I'm glad it's the aircraft that I get to fly.
US Air Force Colonel DIRK Smith says their new weapon has been brought to the Dubai Air Show to give the Middle East region a taste of its superior speed, stealth and manoeuvrability.
It's a normal thing that anytime we have any type of new equipment, we like to try it out in a wide range of environments so we'd be able to accomplish any type of mission that's required of us.
For security reasons, it won't even land in Dubai, leaving those taking a closer look at the US arsenal a little disappointed. The F-22 Raptor is so far ahead of its rivals that US Congress has banned it from ever being on-sold, even to US allies. But the F-15 Strike Eagle here is very much for sale, and two of the biggest buyers in its history have been Saudi Arabia and Israel. The Saudis are also adding 72 Eurofighter Typhoons, their neighbours just across the Gulf believed to be firmly in mind.
Nobody likes to say the I word here, but everybody is thinking about Iran, directly and indirectly. It's shaping defence thinking all around the Gulf.
Another first for the Dubai Air Show is this training aircraft made by the Chinese. Analysts say the L-15 Falcon is a non-threatening foray as China tests the waters.
China is the coming power for the 21st century. They're now exporting modern, affordable combat aircraft that are getting increasingly sophisticated, with a lot of money behind them and a very active promotion of Chinese exports. You're going to see Chinese aircraft wearing a lot more flags in the coming years.
He says Russian firms only displaying models of their MiG and Sukhoi fighters provides a clear sign that China is becoming the one to turn to for those unable or unwilling to buy Western aircraft. Military giants like BAE say they are wary of their new Chinese rivals.
They are a very strong industrial base with a lot of clever people, no doubt they will come on strong in this particular area. You know, it is a cutthroat market, but it's an expensive market to get into.
Total spending on jets, drones and bunker buster bombs is expected to increase at this year's air show, proving that whatever the true extent of the Iranian threat, it's certainly lifting the bottom line for big business.
So it goes to show you, doesn't it, how important the likes of defence and military spending have become to an air show like Dubai. But don't forget the other end of the scale either. Things like these, the corporate jets. Still a big business particularly in this part of the world, where carriers are even looking to expand their services.
Hello, welcome aboard, madam.
When you can't afford your own plane, but first class just isn't good enough, this is the one for you. The Bombardier Challenger jet is Qatar Airways' entry into the corporate jet business, trying to tap into the uber-rich Gulf market, still dripping with petrodollars despite the global recession. With 18-karat gold-plated finishings, including ashtrays, this is flying for travellers who don't want to be bothered by smoking restrictions, check-in queues or other passengers. So how much does this all cost? Well, it's around about $6,000 per hour. But if you want it to wait with you at your destination, it's just like a taxi. The meter keeps running and it will cost you around about another $12,000 per day. Qatar Executive is part of a wider business strategy for the Gulf carrier based on the premise that people will pay a lot more for a lot more freedom.
We have now taken another decision in Qatar Airways to completely remove first class from all our future aeroplanes. But we will give in business class a product that is first class.
If the number of corporate jets on display at the Dubai Air Show is anything to go by, there's a huge demand from people willing to pay to avoid the delays of scheduled flights.
For the passenger who can afford it, it's the only way to travel.
Aviation analyst Alan Peaford says even in a tough economic climate, there are plenty who can afford it.
I mean, there are 30,000 real very high income people in the Arab states, in the Gulf states. So that is quite a huge market, and that's what's driven the first class markets before. Qatar are a step ahead of the others, but my guess is we'll be seeing some of the others doing this in a few years to come.
The Middle East region has seen an 8% increase in total passenger traffic for scheduled flights this year, while the rest of the world slumped 6% thanks to the recession. But with 6 low-cost carriers now servicing the Gulf region, as well as aggressive expansion programs by Emirates, Etihad and Qatar Airways, those passenger numbers will need to keep on climbing if all the new players are to stay afloat.
And you saw the Qatar Airways corporate jet in that report from Dan Nolan. We also had the chance to speak to the CEO of Qatar Airways. His name is Akbar Al-Bakr. If we look at this recession, why do you think, how was Qatar Airways and how were other Middle Eastern airlines, Gulf airlines, able to survive better than the rest of the aviation industry?
People have a misperception about Qatar Airways, Emirates, Etihad and the rest. They think that these airlines are just there to show the flag and to carry fresh air on board our airplane. This is not correct. We are all business entities. We all have to deliver a product. We have to deliver passengers. And at the end of the day, we have to deliver profit to our shareholders. The Middle East market is very buoyant. And talking about my airline, Qatar Airways, we have a very clear business strategy that is paying off in this difficult economic conditions that is now prevailing globally.
So can you describe that business model for me then? You say it's very specific. What is it then?
I really wouldn't like to get to specifics because I don't want to teach others how to follow our strategy. What I will tell you is that we have a very sound business model and we are very successful in implementing it efficiently.
I've spoken to people quite high up in both Boeing and Airbus. The CEO of Airbus even, they're both apologetic about the delays on the A380, on the Boeing 787. I mean, apologies, how do they wash with you? It must be incredibly frustrating as the CEO of an airline, buying a whole lot of planes, putting orders in and not getting them.
First of all, They should be, because they are affecting our expansion plan, they are affecting our fleet replacement plan, they are affecting our growth in short. What these delays have done is shown to the world that not everything that looks very glossy when they want to sell aeroplanes will happen when it comes to delivery. It has impacted us. However, we are happy that Boeing is at last communicating to us a correct delivery date that will be acceptable to Qatar Airways and its growth strategy.
If you've got a budget airline which is offering a $50 flight between Doha and Dubai, how do you compete with that? Are you even worried about the budget end of the scale?
I have always said that if it affects our market share, that will be the trigger for us launching a low-cost carrier. It has not happened yet. Middle East market is still very buoyant. Yes, I expect someday it to happen, but what you're talking about, $50 return trip to Dubai, is only a promotional fare. Similarly, what we do when we open a new route to entice people who want to go to a place, but for the moment they cannot afford to go to that place.
You think about Qatar Airways in Doha, Emirates Airlines here in Dubai, Etihad in Abu Dhabi, 3 major hubs, 3 major transit points linking Europe through to Asia, through to the Pacific. Is there really room for 3 such major hubs all within an hour of each other?
I don't want to talk about my other colleagues. I'm sure they are as clever as we are to make it successful. I will talk about Qatar.
So how will you make it more successful?
Well, don't forget that we are the 4th largest airport passenger throughput-wise in the Middle East. This information is unbeknown to a lot of people. Qatar is the 4th largest hub in the Middle East and growing. So this already proves that our business model is successful. Therefore, we are also building the 24 million passenger airport, which should be ready in hopefully a couple of years' time. And at the end of the day, it will be the survival of the fittest.
Counting the cost returns in a moment from the Dubai Air Show. We speak to the manufacturers, Boeing and Airbus. They make all the planes for the big players. But how have they fared during this recession?